Do you recognize this animal? This fascinating creature is a sloth whose habitat is facing major threats from current deforestation. A sloth is a type of mammal that lives in the tropical rainforests of Central and South America. There are both two-toed sloths and three-toed sloths, and 6 species total of sloths. Sloths have very slow metabolic rates and spend most of their days sleeping. They are solely arboreal, only venturing down to the forest once each week to relieve themselves. This is when they are most vulnerable to predators. They are an important part of their forest ecosystems, their fur alone providing habitat for several different organisms. Sloths play an important role as charismatic or flagship species. These are well-known popular species that conservationists can leverage to support more far-reaching goals in species and biodiversity conservation. Sloth conservation promotes the protection of its tropical forest habitat. Due to their slow metabolic rates that result in weak dispersal ability, coupled with their solely arboreal lifestyle, sloths are especially sensitive to habitat loss and fragmentation. Habitat destruction poses the biggest and most pervasive threat to sloth survival. Sloth habitat in neotropical rainforests is facing the risk of deforestation, primarily for agricultural production. The pygmy three-toed sloth is critically endangered and experiencing declines in populations due to lack of enforcement of its protected habitat on an island off of Panama. The maned three-toed sloth is listed as vulnerable due to major deforestation occurring in its habitat in the Atlantic forests of eastern Brazil. Additional threats include subsistence hunting and mortality from cars and power lines. UW Assistant Professor Jonathan Pauly and Dr. Zach Peary are studying whether or not shade-grown agricultural crops, such as coffee and chocolate, harbor more biodiversity than monoculture crops, and if shade-grown cacao farms can not only act as refuges for sloth populations, but also as viable source habitats for sloth populations. Their research in Costa Rica also involves assessing whether or not shade-grown cacao could be used to connect sloth populations in geographically isolated reserves. In order to protect these amazing animals, efforts need to be made to protect the tropical forests in which they live. It is important to support those organizations involved in tropical forest conservation. In areas where their habitat cannot be protected from deforestation, sustainable forestry and the promotion of sustainable forest products could help decrease the degradation of their habitats. Environmental education can help raise awareness about sloths and their ecosystems and promote scientific and social interest about the value of sloths. More scientific research about sloths could result in a better understanding of the role that they play in their tropical forest ecosystems that could be leveraged for their conservation.